Hello, how's everyone doing? My name is Lavon, and I am a Christian creative. I am a videographer / cinematographer. I think it varies what I'm shooting at the moment. Sometimes it's more cinematography and planning the shots, and then a lot of times it's videography. I primarily film weddings. For me, that's where the money is, and what people they'll spend a ton of money without asking why. You know, they just spend it. So it works for me. It pays the bills. I actually got into wedding videography on my wife's recommendation. I have a degree in journalism, media arts, and film, specializing in film from the Mecca of all HBCUs, and you already know what that is. That's Howard University. Hashtag HU, you know, for all my other HBCU graduates out there. There's only one Mecca. Sorry, y'all. So my degree's in film, and I took that information that I learned there and pretty much threw it out the window, because when I was in school, film class was really dealing with film. And by the time I graduated and started my company, everything was digital. And we didn't really use digital cameras, at Howard. So I had to kind of learn some things from scratch. And a lot of research went into, what cameras and things like that to use, because everything was digital. I pretty much stay in the shadows of my company, which is why I'm not mentioning my company, but fairly successful wedding videography company, or should I just say small scale film production company, to be honest, is what it is. We do a little more than weddings. I'm actually Jay's mentor, the man behind the brilliant idea of the Christian Creative Series. That is my guy. And he probably doesn't know it, but I don't really have friends, so I probably talk to him more than I talk to anyone else that's not in immediate family. So, but other than that, I'm pretty chill, laid back, pretty much stay to myself, antisocial. I preach on Sundays, and but I'm friendly and open and always willing to help. I just keep to myself a lot. That's pretty much who I am. I'm a family man. That's how I would describe it. That's how my father would describe himself. He raised me to be the same. I'm a family man. So it's me and my family. That's what I do. And that's, brothers and sisters, moms, dads, but that's also church family, brothers and sisters in Christ, and throughout the land. So I'm a family man. That's what I am. Difference between videography and cinematography. Cinematography, it's a lot more planning involved. It's a lot more planned shoots. It's a lot more planned shots. If you have a storyboard, you kind of have an idea of what exactly you want to shoot and how you want to shoot it beforehand, you're practicing cinematography. You're setting up the shot, you're setting up the scene, you know exactly what you want to do. Videography, a lot of times is on the fly, right? So with weddings, you have an idea of how the wedding's going to go. But oftentimes when I film a wedding, if I haven't been to the location previously at another wedding, it's my first time there. I filmed a wedding yesterday at the historic Oakland Manor, and I had never been there. So videography a lot of times is you're getting there, it's on the fly, you're setting up cameras, you're quickly figuring out what's the best camera angle to shoot this wedding, where is everybody going to stand, and anticipating movement, and then placing cameras, setting up that way. It's a lot of run and gun. You're very rarely a run and gun cinematographer. You're usually a run and gun videographer. Now when you just become master level and you can just, see the matrix, then you may be a run and gun cinematographer. You can just very quickly put together a slew of shots and set the scene exactly how you want to do it. But weddings, a lot of the things at weddings aren't planned. And that's one of the reasons why I love shooting them, because I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie. Been skydiving, multiple times, jet skiing, all that kind of stuff. So if you like a high, in that sense. Shooting weddings will do it because it's chaotic and some things happen unplanned, and especially if you feel like you thought you hit record and you didn't. Or if this happened actually a few weeks ago, I hit record, but for whatever reason in my head, I thought I didn't hit record. And I was freaking out because I missed the vowels. And I didn't know that I hit record until I got back home and was able to rewatch the footage. And I was like, oh, the camera's actually rolling. That's always a better feeling than the opposite, when you thought you hit record and then you realized you weren't rolling. And if you film enough weddings, trust me, it's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. Mistakes has to happen. That's part of the growth. Otherwise, you don't grow. You're not going to be perfect from jump, right at walking out the door, and you're not going to grow until you make those mistakes and learn from those mistakes. So embrace them. Embrace those mistakes. The way I got into videography, right? I attended Howard. I graduated high school in 2002, and then that fall, went to Howard. I didn't graduate Howard until 2014. I dropped out for quite a few years, just being young and dumb. A combination of young and dumb, but then also, money. Like you don't know how to get the funds, and money is a barrier to a lot of things. And some things, it shouldn't be a barrier to education, but it was. 2014, I finally grew up. I turned 30. I got married. First home, and graduated college. When I graduated from Howard, my wife said, and I graduated December 2014 in the winter. So after I graduated, my wife was like, you should take your knowledge on video and start a wedding videography company. And she said that because we had such a hard time looking for a videographer that was, in the price range we could afford, but then also it didn't look like they shot it with like a handheld camcorder, you know what I mean? So my goal in creating the company was to fill that void of not too expensive. And at the time when I started, to be honest, it just was cheap. But great quality, great quality wedding videos. So I started it because I felt like there was a void in DC. DC can be, pretty expensive for hiring vendors. And I'm based in DC. I live in DC. And I wanted to fill the void of, all right, you're getting married. It's an extremely important day as of right now, probably the most important of your life. But there's life after the wedding, and you don't want to be paying back your wedding for the next 10 years. Like, that's ridiculous. And so there was this, let me help couples who, they want great work. They want to remember their wedding day. They want to have footage of it, but they don't want to, chop off their whole arm to pay for it. So that's what got me into wedding videography. My wife never lets me forget that too, because she constantly reminds me that she's the reason why I started the company. So behind every strong black man, there's a stronger black woman, if you will. My wife is definitely that. If we're talking about inspiration, and I think there are stages through life where wherever you are, whatever level you're on, your inspiration at that time may be appropriate, but then it may change and grow as you get older. So, I've been taking film classes, honestly, since high school. I was just lucky enough and fortunate enough to go to a high school that offered film classes, and I took a couple. So, in high school, inspiration came from just, directors before me. I never knew how I wanted to get into film, but I always knew I wanted to get into film. Originally, I always wanted to just screenwrite, and that really was my focus. Even while I was in college, I would pretty much, hop on Final Draft and write scripts. It wasn't until I got a little older that I decided to more so I wanted to be behind the camera and, one day maybe directing. small films. But inspiration right now, I gotta say, comes from my parents. Growing up, I liked, Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, Steven Spielberg is probably the greatest director ever, no matter what anybody says, is Steven Spielberg. Just on his range of the kind of movies he can do, he's amazing. And how he has spanned, the decades. E.T.'s old. So, you see somebody like that and you look up to their work. But just as far as like who I've always wanted to emulate growing up, is my mom and my dad. My mom and my dad has been together and when I say been together, I'm saying specifically been married. They've been together longer. They've been married for 35 years. So, and, my mom got married, she was 18. My dad was 21. They just been together ever since. So that's, as far as earthly people, I know this Christian creative, so Jesus is who we emulate first and foremost. I understand that. But just on, who I see on the earthly level and who I try to be like, man, my mom and dad, they're amazing. I don't even have the words, the vocabulary to express like just how great my mom and my dad are. And fortunate for me, because being a Christian is one thing, but it's another thing when you grew up in it. I grew up in the church. My dad is a minister, and my mom right by, his side the entire time. So for me, like, I don't know anything else. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up a minister's son, preacher's kid. And then just got older and, kind of took the mantle. And, my dad's still the minister, he still preaches back in Philly. But then I do so here. And to me, I talked to my pop about it. That's just, evident of how the pattern of God's word has, always been spread. There's always been a few, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. There's always been a few that had to go out and just try to teach as many people as you can. So oftentimes you won't see too many strong preachers in one congregation. For whatever reason, they got to branch out and you got to try to get the word out. So, one day I hope to, be back worshiping with my mom and my dad. I've done it for so long. But right now work needs to be done, where I am, which is out here. So that my inspiration comes from definitely my mom, and my dad. And then after that, my wife. My wife is the most ambitious person I know. And her ambition forces me to be ambitious. Otherwise, I just like, who is this lazy husband next to me? So my wife is, she climbs the ladder and she makes me have to improve because, she gonna leave me behind. She ain't going nowhere, but her ambition is, I don't know anybody more ambitious. So I'll be trying to, keep up, to be honest. I try to keep up. I'm struggling, but I'm trying. Because I'm a chill dude. I'm really chill. Like, I'm comfortable just being just regular and chill and relax and, so I am. It's a reason why I don't promote me with the company, because I don't want any kind of fame or anything like that. It's just not who I am. Like, I'm chill. If I was like if I was a millionaire, I'd be like one of those millionaires that could walk down the street and don't nobody know who he is. But like, that would be me. Like, I would be that kind. Like, I wouldn't. You get the kind who like they floss and you could tell by the car like, oh, this dude got some money in their house. I live in a regular house. I have a regular car. And then I'll just be walking down the street in regular clothes and, be some CEO of some company and nobody would know, and I wouldn't care to let people know. That's just kind of person that I am. So, yeah. On my creative bucket list, it's to be determined. And a lot of that is because sometimes you reach a point, whether in your life or in your company, at your job, where you feel like you've maximized where you are. You feel like you've maximized this position you're in, and then you need to take the next step. So right now, for the last 4 years, which is, how long I've had the company, it's been trying to be the best single videographer that a client could hire. You know what I mean? Like that was my goal for like the last 4 years. Is trying to get to the point where like when you think of a single videographer to film your wedding, what names come up? Who are some of the best companies? A lot of companies don't have single videographers because it's so hard to do by yourself. So most companies, they have two, and they have two-man teams or two-men teams. I just have the one, and I help when I can get it, and when the clients opt for it. But as far as just a single videographer filming your wedding, I'm one of the best, and I feel like I've maximized how well I can shoot it. Like it's no more equipment that I need to be able to do a better job. It's, because when you first start out, you might not have the best tripods, you might not have the best cameras, you might not have a gimbal, you might not have a drone, and you kind of add these things. I've added these things throughout the years. And right now I'm at the point where there's really nothing else I could buy that would make the videos look different, or that would allow me to do a better job. I could get to the point where I could train another person to shoot as well as I shoot, and then two of me working a wedding is going to do a better job than one of me. But right now I'm looking to literally perfect how well I shoot weddings alone, and then how well I edit and deliver that product. But then from there, it's the next step would be to offer more, and I'm trying to figure out, can I offer more by myself, or is it just too much to take on myself? And what I mean by offer more, there are some wedding companies that do same day edits. Like they'll start filming early in the morning, and then by the time you get to your reception for dinner, they'll throw in a projector, they'll throw up a screen, and then they'll kind of have like this, maybe 1 to 3 minute highlight video of the day so far. It's a lot more money in that, right? But then there's also a lot more work. But then I don't know any companies that do that and it's just one man shooting. Those companies, there's always 2, if not 3 people filming that wedding to be able to do that, because weddings don't always happen according to the timeline. So just in case we got to move these speeches up during dinners, somebody needs to still be editing while the other person needs to now shoot the speeches that got moved up 30 minutes because we're running late or whatever the case may be. So I'm debating, researching what I can do and how I can grow by myself. But then also branching out maybe more to not just filming weddings, and then filming, other projects, taking on, other clients, more corporate clients, and things of that nature. So my creative bucket list is open, and I'm planning on using the rest of the year to like really iron out exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it, and if it could be done. And a lot of it is, having to push the limits of and the capabilities of yourself. Because after a while, when I first started weddings, I was shooting weddings with 2 cameras. And then I saw where, well, if I had a third, I could do this. And then I was shooting weddings with 3 cameras. And it took time to be able to invest in, the equipment. And then like currently now I shoot weddings with 4 cameras. Specifically the ceremony that me by myself filming, there's 4 cameras. And I can efficiently run all 4. When I first started the company, I didn't think I could do that. I thought it'd be just too much to keep track of. But I do it. So right now, just trying to push the limit on what I can do alone and by myself. But then also, as I push that limit, to also bring other people with me. So I try to mentor people and show them game and how to film weddings and how I do it. Which if you know how I do it and you do it the way I do it, that's about the best you could do it. Because most people, even true videographer teams, they don't shoot them how I shoot them. They're not running 4 cameras. A lot of times they run 3. And I've seen 2 videographer teams and they just run 2. Like I was a guest in a wedding that had 2 videographers, a 2 videographer team, and they just each had a camera. It just was 2. So if you see me shoot a wedding and you can emulate that, you're ahead of the game. So I'm just trying to just keep pushing the limit on what I can do and grow. And, you know, if you can become one of the best at whatever it is you do, then you're always in demand, right? Because there's always that, you know, that recommendation, that reference you're going to get because you don't only want to do what you do like you do. And that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to carve out my little space where, look, if you need this, this is the guy you hire for that. That's what I'm trying to do. So I don't know exactly how to do it, but I'm getting there. Yeah. So it's funny, right? Because you see, you gotta remember I graduated. I'm 35 years old, right? So, which, you know, if you've been doing it for 10 years, you know, you graduate college and then you start the company 23, 24, 25, and, you know, you've been doing it for some years, then you probably have a little more insight and, you know, what you want to do, goals and dreams, the end game, if you will. For me, the company's only 4 years old. So a lot of, you know, of my limits and what I can do in the end game, I haven't completely figured out yet. Now, a lot of times, you know, that happens because while you're trying to figure those things out, life is still happening. And if you're married and you got a kid or kids, you know, I just got one, my son, you need time to be able to like separate yourself from life and its work and like really just plan and plot. And I say that because when I started the company, I just got fired from a job. So I had some time on my hands and I needed to be fired because I was on the verge of going crazy because I probably should have quit. I'm just not a quitter. Like, you got to kick me out the door. But I should have quit the job like months ago before I got fired. I was over. I was done. I had reached the limit of what I could do there, and I needed to move into a different direction. I could not get any better at doing what I was doing. And that's what I mean when I say, you know, you get to that limit and you're like, all right. Because after a while, I don't care what you're passionate about. When you reach your potential of what you can become and you need to grow and you need to take the next step, if you don't do it, then the passion goes away. You start to get bored. You start to get frustrated. It starts to become just a chore, even though this was something you once were passionate about. And that's, I don't care what you do. You know what I mean? If you don't grow and take the next step and then find other interests, you get tired of it. That's just what happens. So you got to continually, you know, set goals and set dreams and then push the limits. So like my end game, I'm still figuring out. When it comes to video, I do know that one day I would like to produce like a short film. And I would like to actually, like, you know, write the script and then come up with the storyboard. And then, you know, film it and kind of have like a whole cast and a small cast, nothing too big. But, you know, if I'm being honest, you can make money in that, but that money normally comes on the back end. While life is still happening and you need to pay bills, you know, and live, you know, that project would start out with me not really making any money. And then, you know, trying to find people to, you know, help produce it with me and then maybe selling it, showing it at a festival, something like that, and then maybe making money later. But, you know, that's a lot of planning, that's a lot of hours, that's a lot of time away from life and the responsibility. Being in weddings, you know, kind of moved me into a different direction as far as where else you could grow. There's a company on Instagram, their tag is emotion.film. I don't know if they're based in, I'm not sure where they're based, I can't remember. But they just recently opened up their first wedding venue. And they're like a wedding videography or cinematography company, right? And been open for a little while, and they do great work. And they recently opened up their first wedding venue. And that's a dream of mine Now that has nothing to do with cinematography, but then that also has everything to do with growing and pushing your limits and kind of branching off and finding other interests because it's still wedding related. And I would probably still want to film some weddings there, but it would be nice to kind of have a space, you know, where you could host weddings, you could host style shoots, you could train up and coming videographers, cinematographers. You could have a summer camp there, after school camp there. There's a lot of potential in having a building just in general, but then also like a wedding venue to where, you know, you can do a lot of great work with just, you know, just the extra space of having somewhere to cultivate minds, if you will. So yeah, I would love to be able to like teach and show others, you know, how you can be, you know, independent. You know, I work for myself. I don't have another job or part-time job or anything. As of now, I'm married, so I don't know if you can ever have enough money, but we'll see. It's been 2 years since I've been working for myself. So I would like to show, you know, other people that there's an avenue to be able to do so. And, you know, I know how to do it in this avenue. I know people who do it in other avenues, you know, whether it's photography or construction work and things like that. But I have to say that it's not, there's a need for people to work in all aspects of life and have different jobs. So it's not I hate when people make it sound like it's a bad thing if you don't work for yourself or if you work for another company. We need people to work in those other places. When you go to Walmart, you want to have a teller there. You want to have somebody that asks, where's this hammer in the Home Depot? Like, you know what I mean? So I don't like when people act like one job is better than the other one. Everybody's needed, and all the jobs are important. It's very similar to, you know, to make a biblical reference to human body. I mean, those parts of your body that are more fragile, your pinky and such, you even pay more attention to. So it's nice to be able to work for myself. I love it. But I don't necessarily think that's better than working for someone else. We just got roles. That's all. And you fill the role that you've been blessed to fill. Because there's some people who don't have jobs and they looking for work. So I'm just thankful to be able to do what I do. But if I had to stop and work somewhere else because that's just what had to happen, it's just what had to happen. It's all good. I don't worry about stuff like that. So yeah, I think that answered it. I don't really have a creative outlet outside of videography. I do have a creative outlet outside of wedding videography. Usually when I get burnt out is from just filming so many weddings. And just, you know, going through the process and editing. And, you know, with weddings, people want their videos fast and they want to see them right away, and it takes time to edit. And then sometimes you're shooting 3 weddings in one weekend, and it takes time, especially that last wedding that you shot, to get them their wedding video without rushing it, and then also without like not giving the best that you can because you're just tired. When you shoot 3 weddings in a weekend, you get to editing that last one, you're tired. Especially if you've been, you know, my first wedding this year was back in January. So I've been filming almost the entire year. The only month that I didn't have a wedding was February. But then from January to March, April, May, all the way up, I've just been filming. So, you know, you're a little tired around this time of the year. What I do as a creative outlet is I do other video projects. So, you know, there are times where I'll just make a wedding video highlighting just a bride, which the client didn't ask for that. I don't have to do it, but it's just cool footage of just the bride, whether in her, you know, robe before she puts a dress on or in her dress. Sometimes I'll make videos for wedding planners and just showing the decor. I'll record a home video My wife hates it, but my son loves it and he shows out for the camera. But that's my only creative outlet. I don't draw or anything like that. And to be honest, I'm busy. I preach, which that's not a creative outlet, but it's just a different change of pace because just having to put lessons together and study and present them puts you in a completely different mindset than when I'm filming weddings. So there's other things I do. I wouldn't say the creative part of preaching is me speaking in my own way and how I present the lesson, but the word of God is the word of God, so you ain't adding nothing to it or taking away anything from it. But that what gives me a change of pace, from just the constant, filming of weddings and editing wedding videos, and every now and then I'll do something different, interviews and such and things like that, just as a different pace. I'm planning on doing more promos and things like that. So, but I don't draw or write or sing. I can dance. I just don't. I'm just, I'm old now. I'm 35-year-old Millie rocking. It's just weird, but yeah, that's it. Mistakes, right? Mistakes. I've made mistakes more than once at a wedding. I mean, honestly, as recent as yesterday. I shoot with so many cameras that you can hide the mistakes because you can always just cut to a different camera. But just yesterday, I had a camera running, and then for whatever reason, I don't know, I couldn't tell you why, but I stopped recording on the camera, and then when I went back to it, I noticed that it was off. But like I said, because I have so many other cameras running, I just cut the camera back on and just kept it moving. But mistakes where you kind of have to adjust on the fly or like try to salvage it in some way. I was filming this one wedding. I forget. It was at the Chrysler Museum, I believe it is, somewhere out in Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. And this is one of the things that happens with weddings, right? You don't always get to plan every single thing, even though you planned. But I mic'd up the groom, and then I put the receiver on my camera, plugged it in. But then I cut the receiver off. Now this is fairly new, when the company started. Like I haven't been operating that long. So this was, new into the game, filming weddings. I cut the receiver off because we had like an hour and a half or 2 hours until the wedding started. Like I mic'd up the groom for the first look, and then we did like, pictures and video and things like that. And then there was like a long break, and like they went in the back and was chilling, and we were out front just kind of, going over everything and going over audio. And I cut the receiver off mainly because I was scared that the battery would die, and I wasn't familiar with how long the batteries would last. Even though they were charged, 2 hours is a long time to just have something on that you're not using. And there's no like, auto save or auto off or anything like that on the Sennheiser receivers. So I cut the receiver off, and 2 hours go by, and the wedding is about to start. And I already know the groom is mic'd up. I already know his everything's working. I've been done the audio test 2 hours ago, but I forget to cut the receiver back on when the wedding starts. Now I normally do everything. I normally take audio 2 different ways as a fail-safe, just in case for whatever reason I forget something or one of the mics die or whatever the case may be. So my backup to his lapel mic that was, in his jacket and on him, hooked up to my camera, was the mic that the DJ provided for the officiant. The DJ had a microphone that was on a stand that was plugged up to his speakers that the officiant was supposed to speak out of, and then the officiant was supposed to give that mic to the bride and groom to do their vows, right? So I'm ready. I'm like, all right, the groom is mic'd up. I'm also plugged into the DJ's equipment, so when he gives them their mic and they're talking through his speakers, I'm going to record all of that. So the wedding starts, and the officiant comes out, and the groom comes out, and he stands in front of the DJ's mic. Now, I know I needed him to use the DJ's mic because the wedding has started, and I'm recording audio on the DJ's from the DJ's board and his speakers. The officiant stands in front of the mic, and for the entire ceremony, he doesn't use the DJ's mic, and the DJ's mic is on, and it's on the stand and everything. It's right there for him. He doesn't use it. During the ceremony, I noticed that I'm not getting any audio levels on my camera because my receiver's off. I didn't notice that till after the vows and we're like at the end of the ceremony. So, I cut the receiver on and I get a little bit of the audio, but pretty much I missed the vows completely. The officiant didn't use the DJ's microphone because the officiant on his own went and talked to the people that worked at the venue and got their microphone. So instead of the audio and everything coming through the DJ speakers, which are up there, the music came through there, but the words came through the speakers in the ceiling because he was using a microphone that he just went and got on his own and didn't tell anybody about it. He thought he was being proactive, which in a sense he was, but it screwed up me and it screwed up the DJ because the DJ's mic is on, you're not using it. I screwed up this audio over here, but then my backup audio is supposed to be from the DJ's mic, and you got the microphone from the building, which we're in this large museum. So like the sound is all echo, like it's just, everything's an echo. Even the entire ceremony was just echoing through these large, this large space in the room with the speaker. So the audio is like messed up. Like I don't even know how else to word it. Like it's messed up. I ended up using the camera audio. It isn't the best, but you can hear it. Like you can hear each person say their vows in the same fashion as if you don't have a professional mic and you just hit record on a camera, the camera has a microphone on it. It will record what's being said. It's not the best quality. It doesn't sound the best. And in a big giant museum hall, it just, it's a lot of air and space and echo, but you can hear it. So I ended up having to use that audio. Then when I make mistakes, I actually learned this from a manager a long time ago. He said to never apologize when you make a mistake if you don't have to apologize. He said, train yourself to not apologize until the mistake is recognized, and then you make an apology because now they notice it. So I took that advice that he gave. His name was Phil. I'll never forget him because I took that advice to heart. So if I make a mistake, I won't say anything about the mistake unless you point out the mistake, and then I'll either fix it if I can or I'll apologize. So I didn't tell them that the audio was jacked up, and I didn't give them reasons why it was jacked up. I forgot to cut on the receiver, and then the officiant didn't use the correct mic. He went and got a mic on his own. I didn't say none of that. I just act like nothing happened. When I delivered the video, I edited it the same way I would always. I noticed the audio was not what it was supposed to be, but they didn't. They loved it. Like, loved the video, super excited, shared it a bunch of times with everybody, left me a glowing review. And unless they see this, and I'm not gonna say the couple, they probably don't know their audio was jacked up because they never said anything. But it was not clear like it was supposed to be. I knew it was, on camera audio and not from a professional mic, but they didn't say anything. So I kind of wrote it out. That's happened more than once, where I had to use the on-camera mic for, whether it was a speech or part of the vows. One time I actually had to take a recorder up to the front to record the vows because the mic was off. And I don't know how it was off. I still don't know, even to this day. I don't know if he cut it off because he was worried. Like, I've had grooms try to cut off the mic because like they're talking a little reckless in the back and they don't want it recorded. So they'll cut it off or try to cut it off and then, say they'll cut it on. Even yesterday, the groom was like, the wedding I shot, the groom was like, oh, I'll cut the mic off, I'll put it on mute, and I'll put it back on when the wedding starts. And I looked at him. He didn't know that I disabled my mute button, so whether he switches it or not, it doesn't matter. I'm recording. But he tried to cut it off, and he did that on his own, and he was telling me that he did it. And that's what I mean when I say grooms, they cut off mics or tricks. So I don't know what happened during his wedding. I just know I didn't have the audio. And I noticed it early before they said their vows, and you can't stop the ceremony. Like, yo, did you cut off the mic? You can't do that. So I just went and took a recorder up there and recorded the audio that way. But that's happened, a couple times. And sometimes, even for speeches, the DJ's equipment be a little shoddy, and you got a mic on the groom, but his speakers is jacked up. It gets a little tricky. I always just say, if you do whatever you do to the best that you can do it, then you don't have anything else to worry about. So this is what happened. This is the best that I can offer with what happened. I've yet to have to apologize about some bad audio, things like that. So it's worked out. So the advice I would give to someone starting out in my field is to be patient with the growth, but then also, do the research. What you want to do is you want to fill a void. That's always the best way to approach anything. It's not always about doing exactly what you see someone else do. It's about emulating what you see someone else do great, but then also filling the need. If there's not a need for what you provide, then it's a lot harder to get hired. What you want to do is research, learn from the people that's doing it already. If you can actually get in touch with them, that's always great, and look for a mentor. But even if you can't get in touch with them, just studying their videos and things like that and how they do. But then be patient with the growth, because some of it is, unless you're starting the company with a loan or you've been blessed with a good sum of money, some of it is you just got to wait until you can, have enough income, disposable income, to kind of invest back in your company and then to buy this new equipment. But you want to keep growing until you get, into a comfort zone and you're comfortable that you're able to offer, what it is you envision. So yeah, patience is the most important thing. So if you believe that you're not creative, then you won't be creative. It's very similar to like a placebo effect. You know what I mean? Like the placebo pill. It's very similar to not having faith versus having faith. Sometimes you're blessed according to the faith that you have in you. There were times where Jesus would ask, do you believe that I'm able to do this? And then they would respond, yes. And then he would do what they believed that he was able to do, and they would be blessed because of that. If I'm blind and I believe that, or be more specific, like the lady who wanted to touch the hem of Jesus' attire, because she felt that if I just touched the hem, then I would be whole. It actually made her whole because of the faith she had. So if you believe that you're not creative, you won't be. So the first step is you got to change that mindset to believe and to know that you are creative, that you can be creative. It's just a matter of your thinking. There's a lot of power in how you think and how you, what you allow yourself to believe, and the faith you have in yourself. So if you believe you're not creative and you keep believing that, then you just won't be. You don't just accidentally fall into success. Success, you talk to any successful company, any big time company, it was a whole lot of years in the dirt and grinding before other people could recognize, the greatness. So change that mindset, and first and foremost, believe, have faith in yourself. Final thoughts. This was awkward. I don't be in front of the camera. It's just as awkward as it was for my wedding day, and then people's taking pictures and stuff, and they telling you to pose, and I'm looking like, this is just weird. But this was fun. I do have plans, somewhere in the future to probably come out of the shadows, more so, and kind of offer advice more and tutorials and things like that. Right now, I just like my privacy. You know what I mean? I like my privacy. I like not being on social media like that. If I post, people love it. If I don't post, ain't nobody looking for me, because they know, I kind of like it to myself. So this was different for me. This was first interview I've had since the last time I applied somewhere, which it's been some years since I went looking for a job. But never before on camera. So this was cool. This was cool. I liked it. I ramble. I talk a lot. I get that from my parents. My mom and dad talk a lot too. So it was cool. Yeah, it's my final thoughts. I liked it. It was cool. It was good. I'm never going to think it works because I don't like being in front of the camera. So yeah, this is weird. All right, anyway. Yeah, this is awkward, man. I used to be in front of the camera. I don't even know how to really sit. It almost made me want to look at the camera like, all right, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because that's how I operate in my head. Like, you know what I mean? What's that? What is it?
What is it?
A Christian creative. You actually should probably have an interview explaining what a Christian creative is.
And you're right.
No, I'm definitely right. Because my first thing was he gonna ask me to say this, and I don't even know what it is. And I don't think he had a video explaining what it is. So, like company-wise, or just in general. You know I can ramble, man. I talk a lot. So I'm only saying that because I'm on camera. I'm the strongest one. Yeah. For the sake of the interview, my wife is the strong one. Same crazy rap lyrics that was out in the 80s and 90s is out now. But the same positive music that was out in the 80s, 90s, it's out now. Like for whatever positive person you can find, then I can point you to one now. Yeah. And they got positive gospel rap. They didn't even have that in the 80s and 90s for the most part. So don't tell me it ain't positive rap out. Like, no, that ain't really what you searching for. You just want to complain and you looking for, you know what I mean? You looking for, I don't care what stance you take on anything. You're gonna find a whole bunch of people that agree with you because that's just what it is.